All right, it is 7 p.m. on January 15th, 2019. We're calling to order the meeting of the Richfield Housing and Redevelopment Authority. And our first order of business is oath of office for Richfield Housing and Redevelopment Authority Commissioner Pat Elliott.
Over there?
Sure. All right, so that means we're going to do the oath of office also for Commissioner Mary Supple and Commissioner Maria Regan Gonzalez. I, Mary Supple, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota and the Charter and ordinances of the City of Richfield, and I will faithfully execute and discharge the duties of office of HRA Commissioner of the Housing and Redevelopment Authority of the City of Richfield, according to the law and the best of my ability and understanding. So help me God. Yes. Thank you. All right, the next matter before us is consideration of the election of officers and designation of assistant to the Secretary for the Richfield Housing and Redevelopment Authority for 2019. Is there a nomination for chair?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Are there further nominations? Are there further nominations? Are there further nominations? Having asked 3 times, we're going to close nominations. All in favor of Mary Supple as chair, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Is there a nomination for vice chair? I would nominate Pat Elliott.
Second.
Are there further nominations? Are there further nominations? Are there further nominations? All right, hearing none. All in favor of Pat Elliott as vice chair, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, congratulations, you are the vice chair.
Thank you.
Is there a nomination for secretary? I'll nominate Aaron Vries Daniels.
Second.
Are there further nominations? Are there further nominations? Are there further nominations? Having asked 3 times and hearing none, we will close nominations. All in favor of Aaron Vries Daniels for secretary, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, congratulations. And finally, we need to have designate the secretary for the Richfield Housing and Redevelopment, assistant to the secretary rather. And I'll move that we have the housing specialist be, Kate Atchison, be the assistant to the secretary.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor of Kate being the assistant to the secretary, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, congratulations. So we now have an assistant to the secretary. All right, our next item is approval of the minutes of the special concurrent city council HRA and Planning Commission work session on November 13th, 2018, and the regular Housing and Redevelopment Authority meeting of November 19th.
So moved.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? All right, hearing none, all in favor of approving both sets of minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And we've approved both sets of minutes. Next, we have approval of the agenda.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We've approved the agenda. Next, we'll move to the consent calendar. Mr. Stark.
Thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners. The consent calendar contains several separate items which are acted upon by the HRA in one motion. Once the calendar has been approved, the individual items and their recommended actions have also been approved, and no further HRA action would be necessary. Tonight we have 5 items. Item A is consideration of the adoption of a resolution designating the official depositories for the Housing and Redevelopment Authority for 2019, including the approval of collateral. Item B is consideration of the approval of an amended contract with the Center for Energy and Environment, or CEE, to provide loan and remodeling advising services to Richfield homeowners for 2019. Item C is consideration of the adoption of a resolution approving the assignment and assumption of contract between NHH Companies, LLC, CP2 Development, LLC, and the Housing and Redevelopment Authority. I would note that the assignment document was provided at the dais tonight. Item D is a consideration of the adoption of a resolution approving execution of a right of entry agreement with Cedar Point Investments, LLC, for the Cedar Point 2 properties owned by the Housing and Redevelopment Authority. And item E is the consideration of the adoption of a resolution approving collateral assignment of the secondary developer tax increment financing note to be issued by the Richfield HRA for the benefit of the secondary developer for that project. And that concludes tonight's consent agenda.
All right, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we've approved the consent agenda. Moving on, we will go to item number 4, which is consideration of the adoption of a resolution authorizing acceptance of a donation of $100,000 to the HRA Authority from Affordable Suburban Housing and approval of program guidelines for distributing the funds through an affordable apartment improvement grant program. Mr. Stark.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to be asking Housing Manager Julie Urban to provide the staff report.
Chair Supple, Commissioners, Affordable Suburban Housing is a nonprofit that supports affordable housing in suburban communities. ASH recently offered the Housing and Redevelopment Authority the opportunity to request a donation to be used to support affordable housing efforts in the community. Staff submitted an application proposing to use the funds on an affordable apartment improvement grant program, and we were awarded $100,000 in funding. The HRA must formally accept the funds by resolution. So the purpose of the proposed program would be to provide financial resources to improve existing affordable apartments. The HRA would provide grants targeted at small rental buildings to make improvements to units currently occupied by tenants while maintaining affordable rents. Grants of up to $5,000 per unit would be provided to units that are occupied by tenants who have lived in the unit for 10 or more years. I would ask to make a slight adjustment to that, just to give us a little bit more flexibility to say for 5 or more years, with priority given to those who have lived 10 or more years. The owner would provide a 60% match and commit to maintaining the affordability of the unit for at least 5 years. Only buildings containing between 4 and 14 units and charging rents affordable to households earning no more than 50% of the area median income would be eligible. I was hoping that members of the board of ASH would be able to be here tonight so that we could thank them in person, but they were unable to be here. But I just would like to give you a little bit of background about ASH and how we came to this point. But Bill Schatzline was the founder of Affordable Suburban Housing, and he had a long relationship with the HRA. Bill was one of the original organizers of the remodeling fair. He developed several affordable single-family homes through the New Home Program, and he helped to coordinate our community apartment program, which was operational back in the 1990s. And that there were several more things that Bill was active in the community that I just decided not to to mention here, but Bill did pass away several years ago, and the Ash Board just very recently decided to disband the nonprofit and donate the remaining funds to other nonprofit organizations who work on providing affordable housing in suburban communities. Ash contacted the HRA staff last fall and, asked that we submit a proposal. They were very interested in spending the funds in Richfield because of Bill's longstanding connection. And we remember Bill fondly. John and I both worked with Bill in the past, and so it's sort of with special feelings that we are able to bring this forward to you. And it's an exciting opportunity for us, and we look forward to working with, we've actually have one owner right now for sure who's interested in working with us, and we're looking really forward to spending these funds in honor of Bill.
All right, are there any questions?
Just a couple. If my math is correct, then each unit will be receiving, well, 5,000 from the grant, 3,000 from the owner, so a total of 8,000 to rehab a unit?
Potentially, or the match could be used on common area improvements, like they could replace carpeting or paint,
Okay, so
doors.
the 60% can be for any part of the building?
That's what we felt. We wanted to, again, have flexibility. This particular owner thought that you actually could do quite a bit with maybe 3,000 per unit.
That's what I was thinking. I think given, I'm assuming most of them are one, perhaps two at most bedrooms in most of the units, so you can do a pretty good renovation for that
Yep,
type
it's a
of money.
mix.
Can you just give me an idea of the demographics? How many buildings, 4 to 14 units, we're going to fit within this parameters?
So we maybe have, I should have looked, up to 50 maybe buildings in town.
Really?
This
Okay.
particular owner that we met with to find out, would anybody participate? He's a longtime owner. It's a legacy owner. Father built the buildings. Kids now run the things, and they have, I think, 10 buildings that fit in that
Okay.
category. Over 100 units.
Is it, how are you going to allocate it? Is it going to be first come, first served, or put them in and then we will try to do it, throughout the city, or some distribution pattern?
I will make it available, or I will publicize that the money is available. I think we would like to start with this owner who is available, willing, and meets all the criteria so that we can get started and have some success, and then we'll see. I was looking at, part of it was to see a rent roll. We needed to work with someone to get information before we developed the program, and he was willing to share his rent roll, and I want to say 40% of his tenants have lived there more than 5 years, and so there was a significant pool to choose, and that's why we went with the 10. But then when I went back and looked at the numbers, I was like, there's some people that maybe aren't interested in the upheaval of what remodeling might entail. It's hard to say. He could think of several of his tenants and said, yeah, they're going to opt out. So that's why I would like a little bit more flexibility to go to 5. But the idea was we send letters to those tenants, or he would notify those tenants who, starting with that 10 years, and see if they're interested. And then I think our hope, too, is that they could be involved in some choices. Like he could say, here are the 2 counters you could pick from if you want, or here's the menu of items that you could have done. He said they often want ceiling fans, they might want wood floors, maybe they want new counters, maybe they want a new bathroom vanity, so we'd have a menu of idea of things that they could help choose from.
Right.
And the idea is that so few of these units get upgraded when they turn over.
Right.
So you've lived up somewhere for 10 plus years, you don't get that update, you don't get that opportunity. And then when it turns over, then the rent goes up. And this is an owner that, we have a good relationship with and feel confident that, he's on the same page as we are with what we want to accomplish.
That's a really great kickstart for naturally occurring and upgrading the affordable housing we've got here. We've talked about that before.
Right.
I'm just wondering, I'm assuming it's a one-time grant.
Right. And we decided to go with the grant. This is unrestricted funds, really, and what a great opportunity. We don't often get that. There's usually just a lot of strings and a lot of rules and regs that you have to, and this is just really an opportunity to be more nimble.
I'm just wondering, and it's something for thought moving forward, if the economic benefit, the EBA, the EBD, whatever it is, if we couldn't somehow fund this, maybe not to 100,000, but have some funding we look at every year annually to continue to upgrade and make the natural occurring nicer and more accountable to the tenants. And I mean, we could even take a look at the timing on it. We could, it just seems to me if we get this kickstart on the program, being able to fund it through some other alternative source from the city itself would be a wonderful idea, and keeping pace with keeping everything affordable and also upgrading.
Right. Well, we do have our apartment remodeling program, which we do as loans, and we did have 2 successful grants last year, and those ended up going to the larger complexes, which isn't a bad thing. We just thought, well, this is kind of a fun opportunity to maybe focus on those, because we do have so many of those 10-unit, 11-unit buildings. And
Yeah, I'm surprised when you said about 50.
And let me double check on that, but I've looked at the numbers, but I don't have it all committed to memory. But
Okay.
we have a significant number.
Great, thank you, I appreciate that.
Are there other comments or questions?
I just think what a great opportunity for us, and I feel very fortunate that they reached out to us and were able to donate $100,000. That will go a long way. And then not only that, but that really neat connection that Bill had to Richfield. So very thankful for that donation. It's really going to help our residents.
All right, would someone like to move the 2 motions?
I will be happy to move the motion that we adopt a resolution authorizing acceptance of a donation of $100,000 to the Housing and Redevelopment Authority from Affordable Suburban Housing for funding of an Affordable Apartment Improvement Grant Program, and approve the guidelines for the Affordable Apartment Improvement Grant Program as amended, which is to reduce the time that people have to stay there or have to have lived there to 5 years.
With a priority given to 10
To
years.
10, with a priority given to 10. And do you want them separate or together? Second is, part of that is to approve the guidelines for the Affordable Apartment Improvement Grant Program. Second.
All right, they've been moved and seconded. Can you please express our thanks to the ASH Foundation?
I definitely will. So Lynette and I were able to meet with them and some other board members when they dropped off the check, and it was fun. So we certainly have done that, but I will
Great.
convey your thanks as well.
Cool.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or comments?
Just one, I worked with him on the early days of the
So you remember him?
of the community remodelers fair, and he was a good guy.
All right. All right, all in favor of both of those motions, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we've accepted the grant and approved the guidelines. Moving on to number 5, which is consideration of the adoption of a resolution authorizing the purchase of 6412 Bloomington Avenue South for further development as a single-family home. Executive Director Stark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to be asking Kate Aitchison, Housing Specialist, to present this staff report.
Thank you, Chair Supple. The owner of 6412 Bloomington Avenue South has expressed an interest in selling her home to the Richfield HRA. The house is 707 square feet, was built in 1928. It's a 1 1/4 story home with a small second floor space at the rear of the house that can only be accessed via stairway in the home's only bathroom. It has 1 bedroom plus den, along with 1 bathroom and an unfinished basement. There's also a detached 1-car garage on the property. An independent assessment of the property found that it had an awkward floor plan resulting from multiple additions over the years, and then it had excessive code deficiencies that would cost more than 25% of the property's value to correct. The house was deemed substandard and meets the requirement for acquisition and demolition under our state statutes. A sale price of $115,000 was agreed upon with the seller, with $1,000 paid ahead of closing as earnest money. This home could be redeveloped under 2 of our programs, Richfield Rediscovered or New Home, and staff will be bringing that conversation to the HRA in February with a lot of supporting data and conversation that we can have to further the discussion. I'd be happy to answer questions if you have any.
I would just suggest that for a home built in 1928, at least from the exterior, it's well preserved. So somebody's been taking care of it.
All right. Go ahead, Commissioner.
I just more of a comment than anything. I had sent Serpent some questions about this property. I am always conflicted when we buy the properties that can be valuable to the community and tear them down and make bigger homes. I think there just isn't a plethora of these smaller houses and so forth, but Julie had some good information about this one maybe has seen its day. So I look forward to the conversation in February about where it goes next.
All right, would someone like to make the motion?
So moved.
Second?
All right, it's been moved to adopt a resolution authorizing the purchase of 6412 Bloomington Avenue South for future development as a single-family home. Are there any other comments, questions, discussion? Commissioner Sandal?
I just would have a comment, is that this is very, very small house. It's not what the little tiny houses, but it's very small. I mean, I think I could fit it in my living room and dining room and probably have room to spare. So I think it's a good idea, and I think it will improve the community. It'll upscale the neighborhood, and I think it's a good choice.
All right. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we've approved the resolution, or the motion, rather. All right, moving on to item 6, consideration of the adoption of a resolution amending the bylaws of the Richfield Housing and Redevelopment Authority to reflect the composition of membership as authorized by the mayor and city council of the city of Richfield. Mr. Stark?
Thank you, Madam Chair. On December 13th of 2011, the Richfield Mayor and City Council adopted a resolution amending the composition of the Board of Commissioners of the Richfield HRA to require the appointment of 2 sitting members of the council as HRA commissioners. The HRA bylaws, however, were never amended to reflect this action, nor other details related to the composition of the HRA board. Staff and legal counsel are recommending that the HRA amend its bylaws at this time to reflect the language pertaining to the composition of the HRA as approved by the City Council. The recommended amendment mirrors the wording contained in the 2011 City Council resolution. Also, it's been noted that there's some unusual language in the voting of the HRA. If you could refer to Section 6 of the bylaws under manner of voting, it currently reads that the voting on all questions coming before the authority shall be made by roll call, and the yeas and nays shall be entered upon the minutes of such meeting. That has not been our practice to do so by roll call. So I would recommend that be amended to state the voting on all questions coming before the authority shall be made verbally, and the yeas and nays shall be entered upon the minutes of such meetings.
All right, is there a motion?
I'll make the motion for the consideration of the adoption of a resolution amending the bylaws of the Richfield Housing and Redevelopment Authority to reflect the composition of membership as authorized by the mayor and city council of the city of Richfield, with the amended Section 6 manner of voting to state the voting on all questions coming before the authority shall be verbally, and the yeas and nays shall be entered upon the minutes of such meeting.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Thank you for helping us clean it up and put it into how we currently operate so that we are official. Any other comments? All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we've adopted the resolution. All right, our next business is consideration of the approval of the use of up to $180,000 from the HRA's Capital Improvements Fund to advance payments for the Housing Choice Voucher Program for the month of March if necessary. Executive Director Stark.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The HRA is responsible for local administration of the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development's Housing Choice Voucher Program, commonly referred to as Section 8. The housing vouchers provide rent subsidies to low-income households. In Richfield, we serve approximately 270 households through this program. The amount of assistance that individual households receive vary from under $100 a month to over $1,000 a month. Collectively, the Richfield HRA provides approximately $160,000 in housing voucher payments each month. These funds are advanced to us by HUD on a monthly basis. The funds themselves are provided directly to the rental property owners to make up the difference between the actual rent and what the tenant can afford to pay. HRA staff has learned from multiple sources, and at the time of this staff report, we had not heard from HUD, but we have since heard from HUD, that if the federal government shutdown were to continue beyond February, there would not be funding available to advance the HRA funds for our payment of housing vouchers. This would result in a financial burden on the rental property owners that choose to participate in the program, and it could give property owners justification to quit participating in the program and or to begin eviction proceedings on tenants who are unable to pay their full month's rent. Based on these concerns, we are recommending that the HRA use up to $180,000 from its capital improvement fund to advance payments on housing vouchers for the month of March, if necessitated by a continued federal government shutdown. In past shutdowns, the federal government has always made retroactive payments upon the conclusion of the shutdown, and there hasn't been any reporting in the national media to cause concern that this would not be the case this time. If the shutdown is not resolved prior to the February 19th HRA meeting, we would come back to you again with some ideas on how to continue. Just a couple of things to add to this. We do have, first of all, the Section 8 funding is complicated. What we get from month to month varies in ways that we don't understand always on the front end. It's only retroactively when you go back and kind of evaluate funding. And so there are occasions where we have reserves. In the past, HUD has been very strict about the use of reserves because in month A, they give you $16,000 too much, that might mean in month B that they give you $16,000 too little. And so they really regulate how you can use reserves. They gave us notice today that there might be some opportunities for us to use our reserves in extraordinary ways under these circumstances. We got that at about 4:15 this afternoon, and so I'm not able to give you a lot of details on what our reserves are. The wording in the motion is approving up to $180,000 from our capital improvements fund, and this is money that, as we say in the staff report, we feel confident. We feel as confident in the federal government as one can that it's going to be coming back to us, and it wouldn't really cause any financial difficulties for the HRA to do so. So with that, I would entertain any questions you might have.
All right, are there any questions?
I'm glad we're doing this. So thank you for being proactive and getting communication out and making sure that we can continue. I know that we run our own, right? We run this ourselves, and I think always an excellent job. So I'm happy we're able to do this.
I agree that it's very important that we have stability and that people are not put under undue pressure.
Yeah, just a question.
All right, go ahead.
So February is already covered, is that correct?
Yeah, there is HUD money available for February.
Okay.
Could you just share a little bit about the communication with voucher recipients about it and how it went?
It hasn't occurred yet. I'll ask Housing Manager Urban to address that.
We were waiting for you to act tonight so that
Okay.
we'll be sending letters to both owners and tenants tomorrow to reassure them. I mean, that's, it maybe seems like a long way out, but I guess we're not seeing signs of this ending anytime soon. And we really, I mean, housing is so important. And we have a lot of vulnerable clients, and so we're very sensitive. We don't want to cause them undue stress. Maybe they hadn't been thinking about it and didn't really want to have to think about it, and so we may be just making them thinking about it. But so that's why we just really, though, feel like we need to reassure. We have not seen much of a conversation about this yet in the national media, but I think because there's too many other things that come first, it's certainly coming, and we'd rather they hear from us.
And we're going to try to be a little delicate in our wording. Many people might not have known before they got a letter from us that this was even an issue or a possibility, and we don't want to as Julie said, we want to reassure people without making them panicked about what's going to happen after March.
We have started to get a few calls, so
Okay.
it's time to
Yep.
reassure people.
Thank you.
All right, would someone like to offer the motion?
I'll move that we approve the use of up to $180,000 from the Housing and Redevelopment Authority's capital improvements, the fund to advance payments for the Housing Choice Voucher Program for the month of March, if necessary.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any further comments or discussion? All in favor, please say aye. All opposed? All right, we've approved the motion. Moving on to HRA discussion items. Are there any items that people would like to bring forward? All right, it doesn't look like any of the commissioners have any items, so we'll go to the executive director's report. Mr. Stark.
Thank you. I've got 2 items to report tonight. One is, in the past, and I wish I could remember what meeting it was, possibly October, the HRA, you approved us going forward with the acquisition of 6501 Penn Avenue South, which is the bumper-to-bumper auto parts store. We did complete that acquisition. We closed last week. We are working through some fairly minor environmental issues, some cleanup issues that we're not concerned about in terms of a cost. And then we will report back to you on our thoughts about marketing the property. We are trying to do a little bit of research on adjacent properties and what their future plans are. So that closing occurred. Secondly, the University of Minnesota Humphrey Institute awarded the City of Richfield and the Richfield HRA with their local government innovation award for the efforts that we've collectively done to stabilize our apartment communities.
That is indeed something for which we can all be proud, and thank you for all the work you've done on it.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you
you.
for the direction you've given us.
All right, thank you. That moves us to claims and payroll.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve claims and payroll. Are there any questions? If not, all in favor, please say aye. All opposed? All right. There's no further business, so we stand adjourned, and in about 5 minutes, we'll start the EDA meeting. Thank you.
Is it just me or the mic's gotten
I think
Loud.
we've turned them up.
They're loud. Yeah.
And we're just all speaking into them, that's all.
Yeah. Mr. Stark, could you bring around that award so we can admire it?
Yeah, that's great. Does the chimney?
Wasn't, did I read something in the paper that there were actually 2 awards? Did I miss that?
They gave a number of, it is loud. They gave a number of awards. They have different categories. So they have a county category, a city category, maybe 1 or 2 others. And then within each category, I believe there were either 5 or 6. Oh, there was 5 award winners. There was a grand prize winner who received $5,000. And then the winners, the other 4 winners that got a trophy.
And we got a trophy. Thank you.
Yeah, we've had, so we've been talking with several parties for months, and there have been some interesting ideas
almost
about
lost the west
reusing
angle.
the building. And so we don't want to,
Yeah.
we want to let those thoughts play themselves out, yeah. Yeah, but I think we'll be able to figure that out fairly quickly.
Before I break it.
So are we ready to start? Ready to begin here? All right, we're going to call to order the meeting of the Economic Development Authority for January 15th, 2019. And
This one?
would you like to have all of us do the oath of office at once again? All right, so we're going to have the oath of office for EDA Commissioner Pat Elliott, Mary Supple, Maria Regan Gonzalez, Sue Sandal, and Aaron Freeze Daniels. So I guess we all go down there.
Okay.
I, Mary Supple, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota and the Charter and ordinances of the City of Richfield, and that I will faithfully execute and discharge the duties of the office of EDA Commissioner of the Economic Development Authority of the City of Richfield, according to the law, and to the best of my ability and understanding.
So while you're finding your seats, the reason that you're all being sworn in tonight is we went through and looked at last year's record, and when the EDA was formed last January, there was not any swearing in at that point in time.
So we're now official.
Now you're official.
So it's now official.
Better to be sworn in than sworn out.
All right, next we have consideration of the election of officers for the Richfield Economic Development Authority for 2019. And that would be president, vice president, treasurer, secretary, which does not have to be an EDA commissioner, and assistant treasurer, which does not have to be an EDA commissioner. Are there any nominations for president?
I nominate Mary Supple for president.
Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? All right, having asked 3 times, we'll close nominations. All in favor of Mary Supple for president, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, then I will be president. Is there a nomination for vice president?
I will submit the name of Pat Elliott.
Second.
All right, it's Pat Elliott has been nominated for vice president. Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? Having asked 3 times, hearing none, we will close nominations. All in favor of Pat Elliott as vice president, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, congratulations, Pat. You're the new vice president. All right, nominations for treasurer. And I'll nominate Sue Sandal for treasurer.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Will you accept the nomination?
Yes, I will be happy to do it.
Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? All right, having asked 3 times, we will close nominations. All in favor of Sue Sandal as treasurer, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, congratulations, Sue. All right, we also need a nomination for a secretary. Is there a nomination?
I'll nominate Kate Aitchison as secretary.
Are there any further nominations? Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Having asked 3 times, we will close nominations. All in favor of Kate Aitchison as the secretary, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Congratulations, Kate. And we will now take nominations for assistant treasurer.
I will nominate Chris Regis.
Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? Are there any further nominations? All right, having asked 3 times, we can now close nominations. All in favor of Chris Regis as assistant treasurer, please say aye. All opposed? Congratulations, Chris. All right, so now we have elected the officers. Thank you. Next, we have approval of the minutes of the regular EDA meeting of October 15th, 2018.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any concerns, questions, or comments? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, we've approved the minutes. Next is approval of the agenda.
Second.
All right, any other discussion? All in favor of approving the agenda, please say aye. All opposed? All right, thank you. We've approved the agenda. Moving on to the consent calendar. Executive Director Stark.
Thank you, Madam President. Tonight's consent calendar contains 2 items which, if acted upon by the EDA in one motion, would require no further action. Tonight's items are item A, consideration of the adoption of resolutions designating official depositories for the Economic Development Authority for 2019, including the approval of collateral, and item B, consideration of the adoption of a resolution approving a fair housing policy. And that concludes tonight's consent agenda.
Move approval of that.
Second.
We've moved approval and seconded the consent calendar. Are there any discussion items or concerns? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the consent calendar, please say aye. All opposed? We've approved the consent calendar. Excuse me. Consideration of the approval of a professional service agreement with People with Capes to provide support services to family and individuals on the Kids at Home program for 2019. Mr. Stark.
Thank you, Madam President. Housing Manager Julie Urban will be presenting this staff report.
President Supple and Commissioners, People with Capes is a nonprofit organization that provides counseling, advocacy, parenting, education, and support services to Richfield individuals, families, teens, and children. Weekly parent share meetings are held at Hope Church on topics such as parenting, budgeting and finance, and health and wellness. Participants in the Economic Development Authority's Kids at Home program are required to attend at least 10 of these parent share meetings per year as part of the rent assistance program. In addition, People with Capes offers one-on-one visits to Kids at Home families as requested. The City of Richfield has contracted with People with Capes under a social service agreement to provide supportive services to Richfield residents since 2016. The city's social service funding is a competitive funding cycle, and as the Kids at Home participants are required to participate in this program, it is more appropriate for this activity to be funded directly by the EDA. The cost for the services provided by People with Capes will be $10,000 for 2019. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
So, Madam President, so let me just add to this. I think this is a feel-good story. People with Capes, as we say in the staff report, if you're a participant in the Kids at Home program, you're required to do counseling. That can be a number of different kinds of counseling. It could be financial, it could be other things. We had a relationship years ago with Adler Graduate School, who does graduate degrees in counseling, psychology, and related kinds of things. And they had interns that were providing us with these services. And the services were just outstanding in every way. And when those students graduated, they and we saw an opportunity to continue that relationship, and they were able to start an organization with that as its starting point. And now they provide services not only to Kids at Home, but to other folks in need throughout the Twin Cities. So again, I think it's a feel-good story of something that originated in Richfield, and we're very pleased to work with them.
Cool. Great name.
And is the Capes, is that, I was trying to figure out, it looked like it's counseling, advocacy, parenting, education, and support. Is that what the Capes is for?
That sounds right.
Okay.
I could add, too, that our Kids at Home program does have some openings right now, and so applications are available on our website. They will be on the website through January 25th, and then applications are due February 1st. I don't know, how do you show this on the, could you show that? We do have flyers, kind of a new thing, and Lynette has shared those flyers. Often our best referrals come from property managers that Lynette works closely with, and so she shared the flyer with folks. I think it was a little imposing for people to see the guidelines in the application, and this is sort of maybe a little friendlier. There's actually, at a parent share meeting, she was talking to them about, well, we have these openings, and we've had a little trouble finding folks, and they said, well, I think people think it's too good to be true. They think it's a fairy tale, was actually the quote. So anyway, so the flyers are meant to be a little bit friendlier, and we do have them available in both English and Spanish. So, so if you know of folks who, aren't aware of the program, be sure they know and give us a call if they want more information.
It's a fabulous program. I do
Yes.
believe that the people with CAPES also receive funding through the Richfield Foundation.
They did, yes, and yep, they had a participant who got very emotional because it's just a very important.
Yeah.
They've really created a community. It's not just services. They have a community that happens on Thursday nights, and
Well, kudos to Susan Rosenberg and all of the people that worked with her to help get that Kids at Home program started to begin with. And it is a feel-good story. I think that's wonderful.
All right, would someone like to make the motion?
I will move that we approve a professional service agreement with People with CAPES to provide counseling services for the Kids at Home participants for 2019.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? All right, we've approved the agreement. Moving on, we have EDA discussion items. Any items that anyone would like to bring up? All right, then we'll go to the executive director's report.
I do not have a report.
All right, then claims and payroll.
Move, second.
All right, any questions? Claims and payrolls for the EDA have been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, we have finished our business. We stand adjourned. Thank you.